But just on your point, going back to sort of, how much the legacy, how much the sort of, I guess I don't even know what to call it, but the altcoin or the DeFi space started to resemble the TradFi space. And one thing that, Jim Bianco made a great comment on this in a recent podcast. He basically said, hey, look, the main difference between the DeFi and TradFi right now isn't all the technology. It's just the fact that the TradFi has the Federal Reserve that can bail them out of all these mistakes. The DeFi currently does not have it. And so going back to your original comment on net liquidity, I threw you that chart, slide 8 from our macro scattering report, where we show the 42 macro net liquidity model, which is the blue line in this chart here. So the blue line in the chart shows our net liquidity model, which is the Fed's balance sheet, the total assets on the Fed's balance sheet. Then you subtract the Treasury General account balance from that, and you also subtract the reverse repo facility balance from that, and that gives you sort of an approximate kind of net liquidity function with respect to how much sort of liquidity the government in aggregate is supplying to the private sector and to the financial markets ultimately. So the black line is the Bitcoin in the chart, and the red line is S&P, purple line or pink line is Ethereum. As you see the title of the chart. So let me just take a step back and explain a couple things as relates to the FTX blow up, because I tweeted this out, I want to say maybe last Tuesday or Wednesday when the poop was really hitting the fan, which is it wasn't Sam Bankman-Fried's brilliance. It wasn't CZ's brilliance. I pronounced his name wrong, so I'm not even going to go there. But apologies to him, Mr. Binance. It wasn't the brilliance. These are brilliant people. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure they're very brilliant. They're well connected, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But one thing that is missing from this discussion is the fact that we saw the sharpest expansion, not only in speed, but in terms of size and magnitude of net liquidity in the history of the time series between, like an 18-month interval. So from like February of 2020, kind of where it troughed in late February of 2020 to where it peaked in November of 2021, i.e. where a lot of crypto digital assets peaked, net liquidity expanded by $3.4 trillion. It's like, that's like all the QE of the years past combined and multiplied by 2, right? Like, it's just like in such a short period of time, we created geniuses out of people who created paper, or not paper assets, digital assets, right? And then, oh, by the way, all it took was a mere 1 trillion reduction in that net liquidity from that November 2021 high to today to basically destroy the entire kind of, token, whatever you want to call it, TradFi industry. You've obviously uncovered a lot of cockroaches and some misbehavior, nefarious behavior, or at least alleged misbehavior. But again, that misbehavior is a function of people think they're the smartest guys and gals in the room, when again, net liquidity in like an 18-month interval is like going up as fast as it's gone up, over the last decade by like a factor of 2. So in our opinion, all this stuff it doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's a reason FTX blew up in 2022 and not in 2021. And that's specifically because the blue line on that chart has declined by a substantial degree.